Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Hampel, yes. This means we are going hunting for the beast of Bray Road in Wisconsin. This is going to be a very interesting and epic collaboration. Much better. Thank you for releasing my shackles and allowing me to feed. Without further ado, it is time for me and Starfox to take a walk into the madness known as the Beast of Bray Road.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, once again you have found your way into the fox den as we sit around the late night fire and burn the timber into the early hours of the morning on Midnight Lycanthropy. We do have a new bi-weekly host joining us. He is a legend in Wisconsin and arguably outside of the area with some of the great evidence and experiences he has had with the beast of Bray Road. Yes, Lee Hampel is a new member of the Midnight Society. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. I love the intro. I love it. Um, that's pretty cool.
Appreciate you, my friend. It's excellent to finally get a chance and sit down with you because, long story short, I've seen you on Josh Gates' show and I've also seen you speak in other places. But before I ever had a podcast, never really had a chance to reach out to the individuals I wanted to. And now that I have a platform, I have a list of people I wanted to reach out to. You were one of the ones that actually responded back. Here we are. So that's great stuff, man. I appreciate it. What have you been up to?
Well, hey, there's been lots of activity on the farm. My farm in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, on Bray Road. Well, it's a quarter mile from Bray Road. I bale hay there. I make hay there. And I actually live down in northern Illinois, Wakanda, Illinois. So this time of year, the main thing that I'm doing is hauling hay from my farm in Elkhorn, which is 35 miles from my small hobby farm I have here in Wakanda. And my wife and I, we have horses and cows and sheep and goats and a variety of other barnyard animals. So I've been busy hauling hay from Elkhorn down to my farm here in Wakanda and bowling, and I really enjoy bowling. So I am in 4 leagues, so that keeps me busy too.
Excellent stuff right there. I love it. And it's good to stay active, even though, as you stated yourself, technically you're retired. But a lot of times when people are quote unquote retired, they tend to fade off into oblivion. I feel like seemingly the ones that, such as yourself, stay continuously active. Even my grandfather, who I swear hates me, he's like 96. He's still super active. Had the opportunity to retire many years ago and technically is, but still, as I said, is always doing something, which is a way to keep your mind alert and staying active. Great stuff to hear right there, my friend. To the audience, as I had mentioned, if you do not know East of Bray Road, it is pretty infamous. Yet, I would like to say if you're here listening to Midnight Lycanthropy, you've had to have heard of that because Linda Godfrey was one of the first people to really bring light to this whole topic. That is what she dove into. So now that we have Lee here, we can actually get to some quality details because I do know when Linda first started taking her reports, seemingly it was what, 5 to 7 feet tall, give or take. And now, if you fast forward to 2024 to 25, or even back maybe 5 years or so, all of a sudden it's 9 to 10, 13 feet tall. I really like how yourself and others actually just logically look at what's being presented, putting it together in ways where it's really hard to refute what's being presented because this day and age, a lot of people seemingly don't like to deal with facts. They like to just deal with basically horror movie type scenarios that don't really have any sort of quality truth to them. Meaning, remember that movie, The Beast of Bray Road? Okay, based on a true story. The only thing based on a true story about that movie was, sure, Bray Road, but the other aspects of it, this werewolf was unaliving all these people and such. Well, the reason I use that example is when you log into YouTube and other platforms, all the attention really goes to people that present stuff like that. Being a journalist myself, I can verify fatal interactions with farm animals and pets, etc. But any of the supposed ones that people say are verifiable, like the LBL massacre, we here with my science team have not been able to verify any of those quote unquote Hollywood type like fatal encounters. So I really get a kick out of hearing that, but also really appreciate being able to talk to real individuals such as yourself, man.
Oh yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I was a math teacher 35 years at Wakanda High School and a computer science teacher. My college background was math and chemistry, and so I've been lodged in the scientific world my entire life. And I retired in 2000. And 2007, we purchased the 35 acres in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Now, I bought it for the purpose of baling hay on, but I didn't bale hay there until 2011 because I was renting property from my mother here in Illinois. In 2011, 2010, my mother passed away. Rest in peace, love her soul. Okay, 2011, I started farming at my farm in Wisconsin. Now, I farmed there 2011, 2012, and 2013. Nobody said anything to me about the Beast of Bray Road or about a Dogman that was, in that area until 2013. In the September, I had cut the hay and I was ready to bale. Well, I was ready to bail on a Sunday. Well, I'm not a big football fan. I follow basketball, but anyway, the Bears were playing the Packers. So my help from Wakanda, Illinois, said, "No, we're watching the Bears Packer game." And I go, "Well, okay." So then I had three guys from Elkhorn that also had been helping me, and I called them and I said, "Hey, can you help bale hay Sunday?" And they go, "No, no, no, no. The Bears are playing the Packers." And I go, "Oh man, I gotta bale this hay." And so I drove up. I was driving up to my farm, and I was coming about a mile from my farm, and I saw two of my neighbors were standing out in the driveway there in the yard by the barn. And I pulled in. I said, "What are you guys doing today?" And we're just hanging out. I said, "Aren't you watching the Bears play the Packers?" And they go, "Oh no, no, our wives are, but no, we don't." I said, "Hey, would you guys help me load up about 600 bales of hay?" They said, "Yeah, we'll come down, Lee. We'll help you load the hay." So they came down and we baled 600 bales. About 4 o'clock, we were done, and they wanted some, I don't know how you say Coors beer, but that's what they wanted. And they're standing at the end of the barn there, and they're drinking their beers and looking out towards my property. And one of them says the magical words, "You know, Lee, werewolf lives back on your property." And I go, what are you talking about? He said, "Yeah, the werewolf lives back on your property here." I go, you're so full of it. Your eyes are brown. What are you talking about? Werewolf. He said, "Well, they call it the Beast of Bray Road." And then he starts telling me, he said, "Yeah, my wife saw it in 2010. Another neighbor saw it in 1999. The gentleman who I was share farming with for 3 years had seen it on Bray Road eating a raccoon." And he starts telling me about all these neighbor farms that had seen the Beast of Bray Road, the Dogman. I go, that's okay. All right. So I said, yeah, that's all crazy. But anyway, in that aspect, I picked up a couple days later, I picked up a raccoon on Bowers Road, which is kind of parallel Bray Road. My property is actually a quarter mile from Bray Road, but I'm right next to it. And I threw it back in my property on the fence line. Well, a couple days later, I went back, and this raccoon had been cut open, and it was down in this 3 foot of grass. It was down at the bottom of this big nest. It had been cut open, and all the innards were gone. And I go, what the heck is that? I said, well, I think that would be a hawk, because there was no path into this area. And I go, hawk had to go in there and peck at it and pull the innards out. Well, then 2 days later, that raccoon was out of that nest area, 15 feet away, put in a little pile. I go, this is really weird. I said, there's no hawk that can go in and carry, a 15, 20-pound raccoon out of a hole. They don't have that capability. So I thought my neighbor was playing hoax on me, the one that told me. So I went down there. I said, "Hey, you've been back on my property?" He goes, "No, I wouldn't go on your property, Lee." And then I knew he wouldn't. And right away, I'd grown up in a farm. I'd been outside a lot, and I knew this was not right. So now, 2025, if you'd have bet me in 2013 that I'd be saying there's a 6.5 to 7 foot Dogman on my property, and I have evidence, I've seen it 3 times. I have 100,000 pictures in my computer. I've had 1 to 3 cameras out. I have done numerous experiments, and there is a 6.5 to 7 foot Dogman on my property.
That is all absolutely legendary stuff right there. Luckily for me, because I get a chance to talk to Lee outside of Midnight Lycanthropy, I knew about that. To the audience, though, there we go. Some food for thought right there. Lee has had numerous experiences. You're going to have to tune in to future episodes we're going to be doing together, because tonight we have some very interesting images and tracks that have been taken by Mr. Hampel himself. Yes, you're also going to be able to see them in the video because Lee owns them and he is allowing us to show. Lee, would you like to talk about some of those really gnarly and creepy tracks and photos you sent us?
Oh, absolutely. So this is a 5-toed. You can count the toes around the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toed. And it has a center pad and it has a heel pad. And it's canted because you can see the claws on several of those toes. And depending on the medium that it's in, sometimes mud or in snow, you can see the claws more readily. So it's not feline, it's canine. It's a dog print. And that print is 3.5 inches long and 3 inches wide. And that print is not known by any animal in the world ever. No canid has ever had a 5-toed, 7-pad print. And yet I have seen this print hundreds and hundreds of times. Well, numerous, 15, 20 people have been to my farm and we've looked for these prints and we find a track line or we find these prints. And yet they're non-existent. There's no animal, now, present, or past that's had a 5-toed, 7-pad track that was caned. And, the track experts just won't believe it. They just won't believe it. My brother, Fred, who's helped me a lot, contacted the Natural History Museum in Chicago and asked for their track expert. And they sent him to a gentleman, I think in Montana or Utah. And he sent this picture to that track expert.
We actually have a master tracker that works with my science team. I sent him these images as well. Pretty baffling stuff for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm dealing with the Dogman. I mean, I've seen him, and I go where I just saw him, 15 minutes before, and I have these 5-toed, 7-pad tracks. So these are the Dogman tracks. They're again 3.5 inches by 3 inches. And the track expert from the Natural History Museum in Chicago sent this back to us. And you see on the right-hand side his rendition of what happened. He said there's an animal, a canid animal, going at 12 o'clock, going straight north, and we call it, or 12 o'clock. Then another canid animal crossed over that track. It's not a double hit. It's another animal, another canid that crossed over it and made the orange tracks. So he's saying that that's 2 different animals that stepped in that same place. But if you look at his orange track, he has a heel pad. It's kind of hard to tell without me circling here. A heel pad. If you look over in the track that my picture track, that's a convex. That's not a concave area. There's no heel print where that back orange little orange thing is. And look at the blue animal. He's got 3 toes on the left-hand side and 1 toe way over on the right-hand side, according to this guy's rendition. That's not possible. I mean, and I said I've tracked this a half mile. I've seen these 5-toed, 7-pad tracks in straight line. I've seen them going across the, in snow and in dirt. And I've tracked it a half mile. And he said, well, that's what you have there. You have one animal cross another one, but that's not even feasible. So we did send him another picture. All right, this is one in mud. Now you clearly see the 5 toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around the outside. You clearly see the center pad, and you clearly the heel pad is not as pronounced in that particular one. Many times he walks on his toes more than he does on his heel. But again, you see the 5 toes around the outside. You see the heel, you see the center pad and the heel pad. I sent him this, and he said, "Oh, I was glad I was able to help you with the other one." He wouldn't even comment on it because there's no animal that ever had this. He won't accept the fact that this is a different creature than what we've ever seen. And there's facts. Tracks are facts. If I had bear tracks, you'd say I have a bear. I have coyote tracks and deer tracks, but these tracks, I have hundreds and hundreds of pictures of these tracks, and I've seen it. Oh man, I don't know, probably 1,000 times.
Dang, so creepy right there for sure. And to the audience, you're going to be able to see all these as well. It's pretty baffling. Not really sure, like you said, why certain people tend to not want to actually acknowledge things, but that's why I like to deal with good science, meaning science needs to evolve, especially as there's things presenting quality evidence. I like to use this quick little example, meaning for a long time you had 2 sides arguing, all right? But they shouldn't have been, because originally they all started on the same side. When it was first found, they thought potentially, yes, juvenile T-Rex. But as more evidence was presented and the scientists decided to pay more attention, you had the good side that was like, wait a second, this actually is a new species. Look at all the analytics and evidence pointing towards this. There really is no logical way this juvenile grows into the T-Rex. But then you had the bad side of science that was so driven into its turf that it had to be a juvenile T-Rex. They wouldn't budge. But as more evidence came out, it finally was solved. It's called the Nanosaurus rex. It isn't a juvenile T-Rex. It's a different species completely. Okay, that's what I mean about good science. You have to always think analytically, but also subjective and objectively. As a journalist, there are ways to present things, and you have to always look at everything that's presenting itself. Even if, per se, I myself don't believe in a certain topic that's presented to me in the way it's presented to me, I might have a different thought process on it. But as the more evidence comes in and the more analytics come in and it points in the direction of something opposite from what I'm thinking, well, a good journalist and someone else that is investigating or a good scientist would then sway their opinions, meaning they're going with the evidence. But a lot of people don't want to do that because then you have to rewrite things and explain things differently, etc. Unfortunately, a lot of people that are science based or doctors and things don't want to learn. They are stuck in a box that they personally believe is how something is presented. Yet you have to, like I just previously mentioned, step outside of that zone. All right, which is why I have a science team. When I think something might be physical in this actual area, I think it's living, etc. Well, I feel confident dealing with that. But then if people start speaking about paranormal based ones or maybe things that are extraterrestrial, etc., that's why I have other people I work with. And before I ever make my own public announcements on something, I always sit down with my science team and see what they have to say about it before I, finish my kind of final thought process on things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely. That's why I've sent these tracks to a number of track experts, one in Massachusetts and a variety of other ones, and they all tell me the same thing. Well, some say, "Oh, it's an abnormal coyote." Well, it's 3.5 inches by 3 inches. The coyote track is 2 by 2.25. It's got both feet are abnormal. They say, "Well, you don't have a track line." Well, okay, it's about a 24-inch step. This one here was in 2014. And you can now see, I have the ruler there, and you can see that it's 3.5 inches long. And if you take 3 inches and put it as 3 inches wide. And you see the 5 toes around the outside. Now that's in kind of hard ground. You really don't see the heel print too well. That was 2020. And again, you can see the 5 toes around the outside, and the center pad and the heel pad is not as pronounced. Again, that's not unusual. Now that one's from 2020, the other one's from 2014. All right, now if you go, the fourth picture is the first picture that was from 2014, and the snow picture, which was from 2020, and I overlaid them. Shadow is the snow print. Shadow is the snow print. Can you see the shadow in the print that was in the ground? You see a shadow in there. It fits perfect. The 2020 print fits almost absolutely perfect into the 2014 print. Both of them are 5 toes, 7 pad tracks.
Okay. That is gnarly stuff right there for sure.
So the same cryptid creature, whatever, has been there for that time period. And I've seen that track, many, many times.
What I'll do as well is anytime you send me things, I can always forward them onto my science team as well. Like I said, we have a geologist, we have a biologist, we have a zookeeper, we have a paleontologist / spelunker, we have an animal expert. We also have people that specialize in occult and history in general. We also have a cryptozoologist and a master tracker. We have a geologist and an environmentalist. So we have a really great squad. I will definitely present those and see if we can try to help you get those to places you want those to be. But I mean, we can definitely put all your stuff up when we talk and get it out like that. Our tracker is pretty chill, and we also, like I said, our whole science team is chill. We'll definitely try to get you in, proper directions that you would like and give you answers on things. I'm definitely here to help you out for sure, man.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Creepy stuff in general, though. Well, we also still have a few more images in there that are nightmare fuel before we do let you get back to things you need to attend to as well, eh?
No, I'm good. Whatever you need to do. Yeah, right. Snow prints. We would, look at snow prints. Would be the next one. And you the last picture you have, you put three tracks or three pictures together, right, Starfox?
Yes, reason I did that is just because YouTube has a certain alignment size for things. So if I was just to show one image, it's going to be so large that you're not going to actually be able to see the track line. But that way, by putting them together like that, I was able to get it in YouTube format, meaning the whole entire projection of the image could be seen.
2015, it was fresh snow, and I was out in my field, and I take my tractor out or my snowmobile and go look for tracks. There's at least 6 to 8 creatures out in my field. I have different tracks than what I've been showing you. I have a fist print track. I have one I call hyena track, and there's at least 5 or 6 different cryptids out there. This particular day, 2 of them came through my field. Now, these both were the 5-toed 7-pad tracks in the snow. One of them came in, and the upper right-hand picture you have there, it turned at exactly 90-degree angle. And I don't know if we can zoom in on that. Okay, I zoomed in on that. It came in, and you see the upper track would be the right foot, and the lower at the vertex of the 90-degree angle would be the left foot. So that upper right track foot had to go to the bottom, the first step in the leg of the right triangle that's on the bottom. And that foot had to turn a little bit to get to that position to form that right angle. Then the foot that's at the vertex had to get pulled out, and you can see how it rounded that track. It rounded it because he pulled it out to go to the far track on the left-hand side of that picture. So that is biologically exactly how a bipedal have to make a right angle corner. No 4-legged animal can do that. I tried my dogs. They have too many legs. They can't do what you're looking at right there. I did send this to a track expert, one in Massachusetts, and he said I was missing track because there's no animal that can do that other than a person. Because we're bipedal. And I go, well, I'm not missing tracks. You're in snow. He said, well, you're missing tracks. He wouldn't even look at it. But that's absolute proof that a bipedal animal and those is walking around in my hayfield, and they're about 2 feet apart. Those tracks are about 2 feet apart. He takes about a 2-foot up to a 4-foot step.
Pretty creepy right there. Nightmare fuel stuff for sure.
Well, it's a bipedal. It's absolute proof. It's absolute biological proof that it's a bipedal animal that's walking in my field. Yeah, it's really bizarre. I mean, yes, yes, But now you have tracks are facts. Tracks are facts.
Can't go wrong with that. You sound like my tracker, Nooksy, because that's what he always will say.
Now, that was the second cryptid that came into my field. And he went across my field, all the way across my field, and the neighbor's field, which would have been over a quarter mile, followed him and he took 4-foot steps for a quarter mile. And you look at that step. This isn't a stride, this is a step. A stride, like when we walk, we say left foot, right foot, left foot. Well, a stride is from left foot to left foot. A step would be the left foot to our right foot. And then the same with the four-legged animal. A step would be, say from the left front to the right front. So, that's a step. Well, this is 4-foot steps, which it has to be bipedal because that's an 8-foot stride. You can see the 4-foot step, and that track line went all the way across my field. Very straight line, no straddle. When you see this in snow, there isn't any straddle. And he didn't lose his balance. I tried to take a 4-foot jump step, and about after 2 of them, I'm all discombobulated. But I don't know. Maybe some athlete could do it. I don't know. But he went all the way across my field, which is, again, absolute proof that it's a bipedal animal, creature, cryptid, paranormal, whatever you want to call it, beast of Bray Road, walking in my hayfield.
Dang, super creepy stuff right there. Just the thought of all that. Do you feel you are potentially, or anybody else is in danger, or do you think this thing just acts more animal based towards predation aspects, but it's just more curious when it's interacting with people?
The aspect of it, I know how it has mutilated deer. I know how it has cut deer front quarters off. I know how it cut a deer's head off. I have that deer that it cut the deer's head off. It hit my truck with a stick. That's a whole nother story. But it has played games with me for the last, basically 11 and a half, 12 years now. And it doesn't. When I go out there, I take a flare gun with me because I don't want to hurt it, but I take a flare gun that is used in Marine for signaling. Just if it would come up and be confrontational, I could use the flare gun and not hurt it, but try to scare it off. I mean, it's real. It's real. My neighbor, she lived there. She's lived there her whole life. Well, she passed away 2 years ago. When she found out that I had pictures of the creature or the beast, and she found out I had cameras, she came over to my barn from the neighbor, and she came in my barn, and she goes, she would have been in her 80s. She goes, Lee, when you go out there at night, be careful. And she had ridden her driving lawnmower in, and she turned around and went back out. I go, wait. You're telling me if I go out at night to be careful, but there's more to this story. But she would never tell me anymore. She just said, Lee, if you go out at night, be careful. So there's a suggested concept that it does have some capability to hurt people. It's only really scratched the car, although it's hurt pigs and some of the domestic livestock. It's scratched them or tore their back up on them, tore the skin on them.
Wow, that is super creepy stuff right there. Again, I mean, the reason I asked is just because I've never had any sort of paranormal experiences or such. I've had a couple interactions with psychotic individuals, meaning humans, but yet that's about it. But from the majority of reports I get, it seems either that it's messing with them, as you had stated, or it seems to be potentially curious, or it seems to find humor the aspects of what it's causing.
Yes, I think he does play games. He's come up beside my truck and grunted and growled at me. He, like I say, threw a stick at my truck. He's howled and nearby me, and he's turned my cameras I'll put my camera up. I'll walk away to go explore and look for tracks or just look for information and data. I'll come back and my camera will be all askew, and it'll be like 10 minutes. So he does do, like you said, some of the things, hide and seek or humorous type things. I think he's an extremely intelligent individual, cryptid or creature, and he does just tend to have some of that aspect of humor to him. Yeah, why would he turn my camera other than just to mess with me? Hey, watch this, Lee. When you come back, your camera's going to be all twisted. Oh, you see, it's a track line going across my hayfield. You see, and it's very straight, no toe drag. Deer and coyotes both have a lot of toe drag, even in 2-3 inch snow. This is a little bit deeper than that, but there's no toe drag, and you see the straight line going, but it separates. You see the two tracks, and all of a sudden, you see the single track. All of a sudden, it separates into two tracks. I mean, I tracked it across my field. I didn't know there was two, or maybe there was one, and he metamorphosed in the two. Now we go to the paranormal, because the way that that single track line appears, it appears there's only one creature there, or one animal walking there. Now it metamorphosed into two, or was that two that were walking exactly in the single track all the way across my field, and then decided to go their different directions. Either way, extremely coordinated, athletic. I mean, to step in those tracks as good as they are. If you look at that the picture where you see the single track line, I mean they step perfectly in that tracks all the way across. I did not know that was possibly two of them crossing my field. And I know when I see this snow track in this track in snow, I know immediately it's not coyote or it's not deer. They're very distinct. They're very straight line. They're 2 feet apart, 2 to 4 feet apart, and they're no toe drag. But how did it become two? Was it two crossing my field, or did it metamorphosize into two? Look how clean that separates in that last picture.
Yeah, straight up again, as I like to say, nightmare fuel. It's pretty hard to refute the things you're saying. I mean, I believe you. I'm a supporter of you, but I'm just saying for people that you've tried to reach out to that don't want to respond back to you. I mean, it's pretty hard, yeah, as I stated, refute things when you have more than just one track, because that's just something we always try to tell people is send us track patterns. Well, we have track patterns here. I apologize that people have kind of turned their head to that, but like I said, we'll help you here as much as possible and get you in the right directions and get all this stuff out to the general public as much as possible. Yet, as we start to tie this up, is there anything else you'd like to touch base on tonight, my friend?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I have no problem with people saying, well, this can't be or this can't be. If you'd gone back, 10 to 12 years ago and said to me that, I'm going to be telling you there's a Dogman out in my field, and you make a bet, you'd have my pickup truck, you'd have my chainsaw, you'd have my dog, maybe my wife. I didn't bet anything that I wouldn't be saying in 2025 there's a 6.5 to 7 foot Dogman walking around my field. But I have over 100,000 pictures on my computer, and most of them are paranormal concepts. So I have the proof. I have, the pictures. I have evidence. People can accept evidence or not accept evidence. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you go back in science, people thought that, rats came from oily rags because they came running out from under oily rags. And, I mean, maybe 50 years from now, somebody will look at my data, and I'm collecting data. Observational physics. I'm collecting data, doing experiments, and I have a log. I have albums. I have, computer pictures on computer. I have 3 cameras out right now, and I continually am doing experiments. And again, science doesn't move in 2-3 days. Science moves in years and years and years. And I'm really doing this to perhaps 50 years. I mean, Einstein said mathematically proved there were black holes. Nobody found a black hole for about 50 years. Mathematics says there's multi-universes. The mathematics proves there's multi-universes. We don't have any way to prove or to find other universes yet. Maybe in 50 to 100 years we will. Then some of the pictures and some of the data I have will become, useful. And I do have a picture of him materializing in 1 second on my cameras. I have, thousands of pictures of paranormal concepts. So, I'm collecting data. If people want to look at my data, like you did, Starfox, I'm more than happy to show you. And I'm not a missionary. I'm a scientist.
Boom. That is so beautifully stated right there. To the audience, yes, if you'd like to hear more from myself and Mr. Hampel, you're going to have to tune in to our bi-weekly show. We will be cranking out information in general, but specifically for a while about the beast of Bray Road. Yet this will be the conclusion of the meeting for the Midnight Society. It is the early hours of the morning, and we do need to allow Lee to get some rest. I myself, creature of the night, and I will definitely still be kicking around for a bit. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me. I very much enjoyed it. Very enjoyable. Thank you.
My creatures, I do adore every single one of you, and thank you for popping in tonight to hang out with us. If you do enjoy my content, please like, comment, subscribe, feed, share. Yes, make the algorithm recognize.